Hello and welcome to Chapter 10, Leading Teams. There's a lot of great content in this chapter, such an important aspect of leadership and management to learn how to lead teams effectively. So let's go through the learning objectives. The first one here is turn a group of individuals into a collaborative team. How you do that, identify challenges associated with teamwork, and explain why people sometimes have negative feelings about teamwork, which I'm sure you have had both positive and negative experiences with teams. Lead a team to high performance by providing compelling purpose, clear objectives, clarifying roles and responsibilities, designing the team in terms of size and diversity, and giving team members decision authority and providing support and coaching, because we know that providing people with those types of opportunities really builds motivation and empowerment. Understand and handle the stages of team development. We'll go into that. Understand the challenges and benefits of virtual teams, which is so important in today's environment and our global kind of landscape. And handle conflicts that inevitably arise among team members. Values of a team. Valuable in an organization where work is independent. For interdependent tasks, a team ensures coordination, information sharing, and exchange of materials. Lots of benefits of a team. Great teams are highly productive. They improve the quality of work, greater flexibility and speed to get things done. Flat management structure, which means the management is shared not in a top-down format, but between colleagues in a lateral type of format. Increased employee involvement and satisfaction, and lower turnover when people feel like they don't have to work in isolation, that they're part of a team and something bigger. They often stay in a job for longer. So a team, how is it defined? A unit of two or more people who interact and coordinate their work to accomplish a shared goal or purpose. Evolutions of teams in leadership. So you can see on the left-hand side, more of a traditional type of organization, and on the right-hand side, more of a team leadership, right? It goes from a functional team in the green box, where it's leader-centered, vertical command, meaning it's top-down, all the way over to self-directed, and cross-departmental is in the middle. So there's, depending on the organization and how it is structured, the teams will operate differently. Dilemma for team members. Well, the one thing's tough about team members, and you'll know this when you have to complete group work as well, is you do give up some independence. And we always see this in every group, and there's always complaints about it, and that is someone called a free rider, someone who attains the benefits from the team but does very little to contribute or actively participate. And of course, teams are sometimes dysfunctional. We know this as well. So here are the 5 most common ways that teams can be dysfunctional. If they lack trust, they fear conflict, and they don't want to express their opinions. They lack commitment to the group. They avoid any type of accountability, and they don't really pay attention to results. Those are the 5 common dysfunctional elements of teams. Elements to lead a team to high performance. So these are the things you need if you're going to be a high performing team. A compelling purpose, clear objective, and explicit metrics. So what is your mission? What are you going for, and how do you measure it? Diversity among skills, streamlined in the team size should be effective. Decision authority, how to handle things, and support and coaching. With those 5 elements, that's what makes a high performing team. So the 5 stages of team development, you can see: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. These are the 5 levels, and most teams start at the bottom where they're just forming and getting to know each other. They move up to storming, They develop a norming stage, and then they get into the cooperating and problem solving and task completion. So this is a well accepted and broadly kind of distributed stages of models or stages of team development. I know this has been around for a long time. Well, as you can see there, 1977. So this model has been around and shown the test of time. Team cohesiveness, the extent to which team members are attracted to the team and motivated to remain in it. So how well do they work together? I like to think of cohesiveness kind of like glue. So if you have very good cohesiveness, you're glued together, you're all on the same page, and you're working very well as a team. Determinants of cohesiveness. So these are the things you need in order to have a cohesive team. How does the team interact? Do they share goals? Personal attraction to the team. So are they personally invested in it? Presence of competition and team success. If you have those things, you're more likely to have a cohesive team. Consequences of cohesiveness, morale. So when you do have a strong level of being cohesive, you have higher morale, increased communication, friendly team climate, maintenance of membership loyalty, and member participation in the team decisions and activities. Performance is often better too. You have greater productivity, a better membership satisfaction, greater employee energy and creativity. The one thing that can decrease performance is something called groupthink, and that is if you are in a group, you have the tendency to think like other people in that group, and you really suppress different ideas. So there is a danger if you get in a group that's really working well together, you're afraid to bring up a contrary point of view because you're worried that you might disrupt the harmony in that group. So groupthink is a consequence of having a group that is so tight that everyone is afraid to really be different. So team norm, an informal standard of conduct that is shared by team members and guides their behavior. A certain type of behavior or action that is accepted by the group and everyone follows that rule. So maybe the team norm is that everyone shows up at the meeting 5 minutes early and they ask about each other's day as opposed to getting right down to business. That is a team norm, something that you have standardized as a form of behavior. 2 ways to develop team norms, and there's the privacy, and those are the first behaviors, plus the explicit leader statements. If you bring those two things together, that gives you how team norms are created. Team competencies. So these are the basic competencies of teams: goal setting and performance management, planning coordination, collaborative problem solving, communication, and conflict resolution. Team member roles, task specific roles. So these are roles that are very specific to certain groups. And those are to initiate ideas, give opinions, seek information, summarize and energize, and socio-emotional, kind of what are the emotional interactions or support systems. And you want teams that are encouraging, that are harmonistic, so they work together well, they reduce tension, they follow instructions and the goals and the mission, and they compromise when they need to. Maybe not on the mission, but maybe on their viewpoint to make sure that they're working well and understanding different viewpoints. Virtual teams and global teams, so important in this climate, especially given our current environment, what's going on in the world. But even before that, we truly work in an international economy that is connected everywhere throughout the world. And so it's very important to understand how teams operate virtually and globally. So a virtual team is a team that is made up of geographically or organizationally dispersed members who share a common purpose and are linked primarily through advanced information technology. So through Zoom and Skype and Google Hangout and all the different types of platforms in which you can interact and communicate now. And a global team is a team made up of culturally diverse members who live and work in different countries and coordinate some part of their activities on a global basis. So there are many, many corporations now that are truly global, and they have different people in different cultures in different countries running different aspects of their business. Difference between conventional, virtual, and global teams, as you can see, in terms of distance, communication, members' culture, and the challenges, you can see that it goes from, if you're in conventional, you have maybe in the same culture, your leader challenge is not as high as if you're global, because you're scattered all over the place. People come from different cultures, and you have to, be the in-between to make sure everything is coordinated. Skills of a successful virtual team. A lot of similar aspects of people that work in person, kind of face to face, but there's also some different challenges that come along with having to work over a computer. So select the right team members. You have to make sure that you pick people that are well suited for a virtual team. You have to start off on the right foot, use technology to build relationships, and agree on ground rules. Conflict is antagonistic interaction in which one party attempts to thwart the interactions or goals of another. So essentially, when people disagree, that's a very very fancy way to say when people end up disagreeing on either other people's intentions or the goals they have. So two types of conflict. Task conflict is disagreement among people about the goals to be achieved or the content of the tasks to be performed, whereas relationship conflict is personal incompatibility that creates tension. So you might have a personal conflict with someone that has nothing to do with the task or the job at hand. So there is a good amount of conflict, right? You don't want a group that completely agrees on everything, because you're not going to improve and you're only going to think one way. So here is a diagram that shows you if you have a low amount of conflict, the performance is low. That if you have a high amount of conflict, performance is also low. But if you have just a little bit of conflict, a little bit of disagreement, a little bit of people bringing in different perspectives, your performance is actually better. Causes of conflict: competition for resources, different goals, and lack of clear roles. Who's responsible for what is often a big conflict in groups. Okay, a model of styles to handle conflict. We have unassertive to assertive, and the different quadrants here from uncooperative, cooperativeness, and cooperative. So you are going to have to dig into a bit more detail in the textbook about this and read into how these all play out. But obviously you don't want to be up at the top left hand corner, everything being dominating, everything being your way, and you don't want to be in the bottom right hand corner where you're giving everything up, right? You have to be in the top right hand corner where you're collaborating and you're doing things your way as the group. It isn't my way, it isn't your way, but we compromise and work well together to make sure that we achieve the goals and the missions and the responsibilities that we're set out to do. Negotiation: people engage in a give and take discussions and consider various alternatives to reach a joint decision that is acceptable to both parties. That is what a true negotiation is. It is not a win-lose, it is a win-win. You give a little, you take a little, and you find a decision that is joint and acceptable to both parties. Ways to negotiate: you can cooperate and negotiate with each other, or you can be adversarial, meaning that you are trying to do the win-lose, you're trying to compete to win. And I would say that the way to do it is to cooperate and work together to hopefully create a win-win situation. Rules for reaching a win-win situation, which again I advocate, that's the way you should negotiate and work together. Separate people from the problem. Yeah, don't try to make it personal. Focus on the underlying interests, not the current demands. Listen and ask questions, and insist that the results must be based on objective standards, not necessarily what people think personally. Okay, so that is an overview of the material for Chapter 10. A lot to dig into there. I do encourage you to read in more depth about some of these concepts in your textbook. And if you have any questions about any of this material, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask.